Hello, class, and welcome. Please open your books to page 369. Today's lesson is on the Pear of Anguish. This is a medieval torture device that was also known as the choke pear. In part, it gets its name from a pear-shaped gag. Bandits and robbers used to capture their victims, bind them, and then insert a choke pear into their mouth, slowly extending the jaw open until the entire bell of the pear fit into the mouth. The jaw would slip back into place, locking the pear into position and preventing much screaming, talking, or other noise while the bandits did what it is that bandits like to do. There are many extant examples of the pear gag. There are also many examples extant in museums of the Pear of Anguish. Similar to the pear gag, the Pear of Anguish as a torture device is pear-shaped. Only instead of being one solid piece of metal, it usually has 3 or 4 leaves or lobes or petals that open either by spring or by a turning key. The key is threaded like a screw. Some historians dispute the existence of the Pear of Anguish, or at the very least, its use as a torture device. However, I may remind you that there are plenty of extant examples in the museums. You can go and see it for yourself. Like the pear gag, the Pear of Anguish was designed to be inserted into orifices, often the mouth. Unlike the gag, it didn't have a fixed size. It was adjustable, so it would be pushed into the unwilling recipient's mouth and slowly turned, forcing the mouth wider and wider and wider until the unwilling recipient was unable to close their mouth. It worked as a gag as well, keeping noise down to a minimum. However, those extra aggressive highwaymen might have simply kept turning it, turning and turning, cracking their victim's teeth, dislocating the jaw, and eventually the petals of the pear would cut into the mouth, the flesh, the tongue, deforming and disfiguring the entire mouth so that the victim would be left most likely to starve or bleed to death. Like in modern society, especially during times of war, there is a necessity to get criminals to tell you what their secrets are. In the medieval days, this pear was also used to achieve that goal. Only it wasn't often put into the mouth for that reason. In these types of torture, it would be inserted into the anus or the vagina and then slowly turned, stretching and increasing the pressure inside the unwilling victim. Often, just a few turns was all it took for the victim to start confessing, spilling their guts, telling the torturer whatever they wanted to hear, just so the devilish device would be extracted from their insides, so that their anus or vagina wouldn't be distended and torn. These pears were often designed with 3 or 4 petals, I may have mentioned. Once in a while, at the end of each petal, would be a small metal spike. So as the pear was twisted open, that spike would start to dig in. Imagine, if you will, being held, bound, as a criminal in medieval times. Your torturer is going to get information out of you. Oh, yes. Every last bit of information that you have. They bend you over, tie you down, and the torture begins. First insertion, then the feeling of pressure building and building, and then pain. And all through this, the intense feeling of violation and helplessness. There is nothing you can do to stop the torture. This, in part, is key to torture. The feeling of helplessness, of thinking that the only way you can stop it is by telling the torturer what they want to hear. How long do you think you would last before you started to incriminate friends, family, lovers? Would it take just one turn? Would it take only insertion? Or are you so loyal that the spikes at the ends of the petals would tear you apart from the inside and leave you to bleed out? It's a good thing we live in modern times, isn't it? And speaking of the pear of anguish in modern times, can you believe that people have turned it into a source of entertainment and made a sex toy of it? Imagine that. Only no spikes, and safer for you. What will people think of next? Class dismissed.